Good evening, everyone. Richard Cowperthwait for Northwest Access TV. Thanks for joining us tonight. Our first show of the new year, our monthly St. Albans Today for the Record Show. And happy to have one of our regular guests, St. Albans Mayor Tim Smith, and Bill Nihan, the St. Albans Town Select Board Chairman. Happy New Year, gentlemen.
Good evening and Happy New
Hope
Year.
it's a prosperous year for you personally, for your municipalities, for everybody out there. Tim, might as well start with St. Albans' inaugural last night, and I like the name. The first night celebrations, the famous ones in Boston and Burlington for many years. I never liked the name. Last night seems like a much more appropriate name to me. And it sounds like rain came in right about the time the fireworks started, but still a pretty good event, it sounded like.
Yeah, the rain was a sprinkle.
Not bad.
It wasn't a downpour by any means.
Yeah.
The crowd was good. From all indications, all of the venues had strong crowds. It wrapped up with a gala in the evening, and they easily 150 people attended.
Really? And that went to what, 2 a.m.?
Went to 2 o'clock, yeah. And
Wow, that's
from what I
impressive.
understand, I wasn't around at 2, but they said still about 80 folks
Really?
in attendance at 2 o'clock. And so it went, I would say, probably better than what the expectation might have been.
Yeah, great.
And I think the committee led by Andrea Gagne at 14 Star is excited to begin the planning for next year and make it bigger and better.
Good. So it sounds like this event will stay with us, hopefully,
Yeah,
maybe for a long
I think
while.
so.
We'll
Yeah,
see.
no, I definitely think so. I think the enthusiasm for it was, they've got a great committee of about 10 folks, and they picked up a few more, and so I think it's will continue to grow and be a successful event.
Good. Bill, did you catch any of last night, or were you otherwise occupied?
No, otherwise
Pretty
occupied.
quiet,
Better way of
yeah.
saying things, right?
So again, you folks ready? The city and town ready for a new year? Looking forward to a new year?
So start fresh, blank page, and let's go forward.
Yeah, of course, not far from nailing down budgets. March town meeting just about 2 months away. Is I guess start with the Public Works Garage. Is that proposal, I guess, are you still awaiting site plan approval from the Development Review Board at
We
this
have
point?
we have that.
You have
approved.
that.
That's all approved right now.
Okay. So what about, does Act 250 come into?
No, we're not. It's not subject to Act 250 at all.
Okay. Is that because of the, I should know, I forget my Act 250 criteria. Is that because of a municipality situation?
Yes,
or
it's
not?
an essential public service, and it really has no impact on
Yeah.
transportation or anything like that to speak of.
Yeah.
How big's the parcel?
Our parcel there is about 65 or so, almost 70 acres.
Because with other developments, 10 acres
An
can
acre
hook it
is
in.
a
But anyway,
threshold
but
to-
nothing you have to deal with.
No, it's not an issue, and we're hiving off what we need.
So are you in good shape? Are you in good shape to go before voters at this point?
Well,
pretty
we're
much?
we're expecting very shortly initial quotes. We put it out for bid, so we'll start getting some firm numbers.
And
And the intention is to put it on the ballot for town meeting day.
any doubt? Is there a chance it wouldn't be on the ballot for town meeting day?
Unless there was a disaster with the quotations.
Unless the numbers
Yeah.
came in just really,
Unless
really high.
they were out of its world, we'd have to rethink the whole thing.
Does it sound like, from a construction point of view, a pretty good time to go out for a pretty big project like that?
Well, so they say.
We'll see, I
find
guess.
out.
Tim, what do you think? You'd have
Well, historically, I think that January timeframe is always, people are
time.
trying to line up their work for the following
Yeah.
summer.
So get them all lined up exactly for the
Yeah,
spring and summer, and they can start right away.
I think if you miss that January, February timeframe and you get March, April, schedules
Lot of
start to fill up
competition and
and,
stuff, yeah.
and the prices go up. So I think the timeframe Bill talks about is probably ideal for getting good pricing.
So you have a little time. You have to
Yes.
nail things down. I mean, about Jan 25, give or take a day. Is that when
Well, the 21st is our deadline for the article,
21st?
so we have to know really what we're talking about financially.
Okay.
And
Have you seen any numbers come in yet?
nope,
No.
nope. We have to wait for them to come in.
No.
Yeah, we have our own engineers estimating what it's going to cost.
But you expect some in the next few weeks? A
few
couple of
days
weeks?
actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
very soon.
Okay.
It's always interesting to see how the numbers come in and the
Right.
variation and
Yeah.
and the gap between the high and the low is always interesting to see how
Yeah.
that sugars off.
But the expectation at this point, you'd expect that to be on the March ballot?
Yes, absolutely. absolutely.
And again, with little or no hit, I know the salt shed, I believe, is going to be a separate article.
We haven't decided we don't know how to put this together because there's a substantial grant from the state,
For the salt shed.
for the salt shed alone.
Yeah.
We have to bifurcate it, keep track of everything separately, and so
Yeah.
on. So we'd probably, I don't know whether we're going to have one article with A and B or two separate articles.
Yeah.
Since it's a single total project, it makes sense to put it as one article. And financially, it won't make any difference in the sense that the garage itself will be we expect to be completely funded by the local option tax.
Right.
And the garage itself, we have, I think, a $350,000 state grant.
The garage or the salt shed?
Sorry, the salt shed. Sorry, yeah, salt shed. And we'll have to match about 70 or 80,000 of that. So we're looking at, say, 450 altogether for that.
And
And again, that should involve, we should be able to take care of our portion of it from the local option tax. So that should involve no
wow.
additional tax on our taxpayers.
So it sounds like a zero hit from what you're thinking
Yes.
now on taxpayers.
Yes, indeed.
Well, one might think you might get approval for that.
Well, you never know. You never know.
Right. I mean, are you running into anybody who's giving you grief about this project, given that information?
Not yet. I mean, the grief we had years ago was when we put in the local option tax.
Right.
And now that they'll be able to see the fruits of that,
Right.
I think people will be happy.
Yeah. Boy, if you don't get approval on this thing, then yeah.
No,
Boy,
we're the worst salespeople in the world, right?
Anyway, so I'm sure some people have been wondering, hey, we're paying this money into the local option sales tax, so now they're about to see the fruits of that.
Yeah,
Presumably.
well, we've said from day one, those funds are for infrastructure projects.
Yeah.
And here's the first big one.
If you get approval, you would hope to be under construction at some point this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly
Yeah.
by the summer. No
By
question. No
summer.
question. Because we'll have the quotes and we can,
Gotcha.
and then obviously anything will be subject to voter approval.
Yeah.
So we're ready to go.
Well, and time frame. What's
Well,
the,
I don't know what the whole timeline is on it, but
Yeah.
I would hope less than a year because it's a relatively simple building.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
And if that moves ahead, I'm sure you've talked about it. The current site for Town Public Works Garage on the lake. Thoughts on what you might do with that land if indeed you.
We have a good parcel if you want to buy something, Richard.
Yeah. We're talking about five acres down there.
Somewhere around there, 5,
Yeah.
6, I don't know exactly. But it's a great site,
Yeah.
but there will certainly be limitations on it.
Yeah.
So we haven't decided whether to sell it, try to
Yeah.
do a boat launch. I don't know. We'll have to get some input on that.
There was no thought, as I happen to think of it, there was no thought to putting a new town hall on that site. Was that nobody threw that out?
No, that's never come up. And
It'd be a nice site
don't-
for a town hall, but
Oh, it'd be
again,
a
hopefully
beautiful
you'll
site,
make some
but I-
bucks
yeah,
on
it-
selling it, huh?
the usual things like water and septic would be big issues there.
Right. Speaking of, you just made me think of something. I think on the last show, it was noted that you had approval from the city
Yes.
for wastewater for the
Yes.
proposed new site for the town garage.
Correct.
But now you've decided to do a mound system and septic instead?
No,
or-
no, we haven't. We're caught between a rock and a hard place on this. The potential issue is we want to dig a trench to put the line, the pressure line in for the sewer. It's on the sewer line,
Yeah.
and because it's going to disturb some soil, we need the EPA to approve any permits we have, and that's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
So we're told. So we rather than waste a year or two with the salt shed, we may put a mound in temporarily. That's one option. You know, maybe we could put in holding tanks. We don't know yet. That's still to be decided.
Yeah.
But that's really a salt shed issue.
Oh, yeah. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah. And it's
But it
just,
sounds like you see yourself in pretty good shape with this project at this point.
we're in good shape, as I say, except for this disturbing the site to get to put in the sewer line. You know, whether we have to trench it, whether we can bore underneath, I don't know. But it's the fact that we're disturbing the land a little bit means we need permits and permits and permits and permits.
Right. From reading a messenger story, neighbors in McLaughlin's, I guess, had some concerns. Didn't sound like huge
No.
concerns. Sounds like you can deal with whatever those
No
concerns
issues
were.
with there. No
Yeah.
issues. No.
So it sounds like you're in pretty good shape.
They're managing it well. So.
Bill, I should know, again, we talked, so that issue in all likelihood will be on the town ballot March town meeting day in a couple months. And your name will be on the ballot. You're
Yes.
going to be running for a three-year
Plan to
term?
run again for 3 years.
And
yeah.
your colleague Brendan Deso running
He's
for a
running for
two-year
the
term?
2-year slot. Yeah.
That's funny as I think of that, but did I dream this? It seems like I'm recalling one of your colleagues a year ago when you became chairman, or a year or so ago, maybe whatever, was not happy with you becoming chairman because said colleague was saying, well, you weren't going to run for re-election this year. Am I dreaming that, or was there some comment like that?
One of my
And
colleagues.
I'm going, how does that person know what you're going to do a year hence?
Exactly. I think the question is, are you going to be here? Who knows what's going to happen a year from now?
So anyway, so much for you not running for re-election. You are
exactly.
running for re-election.
Exactly.
And again, I'm hearing maybe one or two other names, but again, nobody, I guess, is publicly announced. So we'll see. They
I
still
haven't
have a
seen
few
any,
weeks.
so we'll see. The more the merrier. So people should have options.
Yeah, we'll see. Tim, and two city councilors, of course, you'll be halfway through your first 2-year term. A couple of city councilors are up in March. They would be, got a handle on what, I meant to check that today.
Well,
and I forgot
we
to.
talked about that before you came in. I think it's Jim Pelkey and Tim Hawkins, I
Yeah,
believe.
as in one and two?
Yeah.
Okay. And then any
I
have
believe.
they-
Don't hold me to that, but I think Tim is the one I would question. But Jim, I think, is up for re-election.
Yeah, I know it's 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 5 and
Yeah,
6, I think
and,
there.
and Tim's in one.
Okay. Hearing any other names? Or hearing much talk about that at this point?
No, I've Dominic and I have talked about it.
Yeah.
We have once again, Bill and I were talking on a couple of things beforehand, and we have our first budget meeting on Monday the 7th. So
Okay.
we want to we'll flush that out as well at that time.
Very good. We've got our first call. Go ahead, caller. Thanks for calling St. Albans today. For the record, fire away.
Yeah, so I figured I had to call in. I'm still waiting for that telephone in the city council room there, Tim. You never gave me the answer.
I thought you would forget, David.
Hey, I need you to do me a favor.
Who are you talking to?
Anybody will do the favor, right?
Talking to me?
Yes, I'm talking to you, Tim.
Okay, go ahead.
Under the Vermont State Open Meeting Law, I'm requesting through you to send me a copy of the union and non-union payroll. And I'll give you my email address.
Write that down.
Yeah, go. What's your email, David?
You want some paper?
David McWilliams25@yahoo.com.
So full name, David McWilliams25@yahoo.com.
Yeah.
That is so noted. Yep.
And the two items, David, you want are
David, you still with us?
Yeah, I'm there.
What do you want exactly
I
from
want the union and non-union payroll.
okay.
union and non-union
It's public
payroll?
information. Just like I could ask that of Bill Nihan, or you, Tim, you could ask that of Bill Nihan to have him send it to you as far as the town payroll.
I'll do this on one condition, David, is you delete my email after getting it.
Right. And don't put it on the air. Right?
No, I will take care of that this week.
Thank you very much. Hey, by the way, how you coming on that new public works director?
That was one of my next questions.
Interviews have been have happened. I don't know. They did have good candidates, and I have not heard the most recent update on that yet. But they did have a good pool of candidates, of which they have started interviews or did do interviews, and I don't know what the outcome was, to tell you the truth.
I've been hearing Marty's been doing a halfway decent job as interim public works director.
And that must be, is that painful for you to say that, David, or not?
It's very painful.
I can tell you, Marty has put in an immense number of hours to make that work and to maintain his other duties as well. So
Busy guy.
he's been very busy, and I would agree with you, David. I think Marty's been very responsive on a number of things, and there's a learning curve, but I think he's picked it up quickly and is doing a good job.
Yeah, well, at first, I said, well, there's no way. But my ears are always to the wall, and I've been hearing a lot of good things that he's done. So I wanted to give him a compliment.
Well, I'm sure he will appreciate that.
David, we were talking about the Public Works Garage, a new proposal for the town, Brigham Road. You're a town resident. Sounds like taxpayers will not be asked to put any of their own tax dollars in there. Does that sound like a pretty good deal to you?
I think it's a very good deal. They've changed it quite a few times to come within the area that they want and how many bays and a wash bay and stuff like that. The town garage where it is now has to be moved off the lake. If you go behind the town salt shed and you look, there's still the pipes coming in from the old pier where they used to unload the oil in there. So I'm very, much in favor of that. Because just within the last couple of years, and Bill Nihan will back me up on it, that we had to pay $12,000 for a reverse osmosis on a piece of property down there. So that's 2 pieces of property that we've actually had to pay for. So I'm promoting it. I talked to a lot of people, and so far everybody seems to be okay with it. There's always going to be 1 or 2 people that are going to be against it, but we need a new highway garage. We need it where they can wash their vehicles where now they can't. There's not enough room down there for all the trucks to get them under cover and keep them from, rusting. And by having that wash bay, that'll be very good. It'll be clean rooms for the employees to have their lunchroom and stuff like that. I think the select board, along with their engineer, has done a good job at getting it down to where the taxpayers will support this one and not support the one they used to have in the past. I think this one will fly in March meeting.
One would think. I would sure think. David, anything else for these folks?
Well, I understand there's a woman going to run for the select board. And
Yeah.
I know Bill's up for re-election. I told him I'd sign his petition, and I signed Brendan Diesel's petition. And they said, "Are you running?" I said, "I'm running away instead of running for."
So you're not running for selectman this time around.
At this time, I've had a lot of people ask me to run, but right now it's up in the air. I might not even be in the state of Vermont after October of this year. So it all depends on my wife on her operation. She has to have a hip replacement. So
No, good luck on that front.
yeah. And I'm sorry to hear that you're not going to be doing your Thursday afternoon letter to the paper. I always bought that paper because of your articles, and you had some very good, articles that you wrote. And I'm very sad to hear that the messenger office decided that you were no longer going to be writing articles. A lot of people look for that in the messenger because between page 1 and page 5, there's 3/4 of the paper right there.
Thanks, Dave. You're more than kind. All I can say is Emerson Lynn let me do that column for probably a whole lot more, many more years than he thought I'd be around for or something. But again, new ownership and stuff, things change. But thanks, that's very, very kind of you. But I thank Emerson. It was nice to be able to throw words together for a long time. But thanks a lot. That's very kind.
Yeah, and Bill, how are we coming on our budget?
Well, we have a meeting coming up, and we're trying to minimize any increase. In fact, we're trying to look at flatlining it, but we'll see what happens in the next week or so.
I hope that new police boat, Tim Smith's going to pay for it, not the town taxpayer. Thank you very much, guys.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Hey, David.
Thanks
Take
for
care.
calling. And again, our number, love to get calls. Plenty of issues, questions that come up. 528-5315. 528-5315 is our number. Well, just days after our last show, Judge A. Gregory Rainville came down with it sounded like a pretty decisive decision on the ongoing wastewater issue. Bill, it certainly sounded like a good decision for the city. I guess basically finding that the town had no standing
Correct.
with the lawsuit about the affiliation fee. And I think also adding that, if anything, he thought the town seemed to be benefiting from it. But I know the town, I think, initially didn't comment on that. Can you comment on it now? Anything you want to say?
There's not much you can say. I mean, if
Yeah.
the judge declares you don't have standing,
Yeah.
everything else falls away. And unfortunately, all the other issues that we were trying to litigate just get knocked off the table.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of open questions. And for the time being, excuse me, we've decided not to appeal it.
You could, obviously, anything like that is appealable.
Oh, it's appealable, certainly.
How long, is there a 30 days?
I think we had a 30-day window to give notice of appeal.
To give, so you'd still have a few more days, but at this point,
No,
it
it's-
not going to be appealed.
I don't see it happening.
So is that to say this issue that's been, kind of hanging around forever is a dead issue or not
Oh,
necessarily?
I think the
naive to put it that way.
I think our suing for the issues that we had that certainly, if not dead, it's certainly put in abeyance for the long term.
Yeah,
And it's difficult to prove standing.
yeah,
Now, had an individual qualified for standing, that would have been a different story. But no individual has sued, and I don't anticipate anybody doing either.
yeah. You can live with the status quo, hopefully.
You know, we won't have any choice. You live with what you have, and if people are willing to pay the what we consider an extraterritorial tax, they can do it. But we won't have anything to do with it.
When you say you won't have anything to do with it, meaning what exactly?
Well, if for example somebody defaults on that,
Yeah,
it's up to the city to collect it, not us. We will not help them because we think it's incorrect.
Yeah.
So no, we will not help enforce a lien or anything. They'd have to go through their own legal process.
Tim, from a city point of view, this was obviously a good decision.
Yeah, no doubt. I thought it was pretty clear.
Yeah,
I've joked with people that I struggle to read legislation and legal opinions, but I thought this one was pretty clear cut.
yeah,
I think Greg, Judge Rainville, obviously living here for as long as he had, was
knows the
well,
terrain pretty well, I guess.
yeah, I was gonna say well versed on the subject, and so it wasn't like he had to re-educate another judge. I thought he was familiar with the details, and to Bill's point, that discussion for the affiliation fee is going to be a water and sewer customer dealing with the city directly, so the town isn't involved in it. And to date, we haven't heard of any pushback yet, not directly anyways. So, Peerless Clothing had a major expansion. They'll be paying the affiliation fee.
Ben and Jerry's as well.
Ben and Jerry's, Barry Ben and Jerry's for sure. Barry Callebaut, I'm not sure because I think that fit within their existing allocation. So I don't think that was the exception.
Given the town's still obvious unhappiness with the affiliation fee, is the city open at all to some discussion? Sounds like you don't have to be, but are you always somewhat open to talking to the town to see if there is some more middle ground somewhere?
Yeah, no, I think the city's always open, but at the same time cognizant of where leadership stands. So we are of the opinion we will not enter into a discussion now until after the election.
Yeah.
We don't want to go down that road, lay a lot of groundwork, and then have a change in the select board, and then we're starting all over. So, if that discussion is going to happen, it will happen after the election. And I think the feeling of the city is that the town will be the one reaching out to us if they want to have that discussion.
But you'll listen. I mean, you're.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think in my role as mayor, I hear a lot of people wanting to know why. Two things: they compliment the two communities for doing everything they are doing together.
There's a lot
doing
there, certainly.
police, recreation, fire, and at the same time, in the next breath, they ask why we can't do more. So those are the people I've heard from and talked to, but always willing to have the discussion.
Bill, anything more on that?
Nope. We thought we had a deal a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
That didn't work. So, again, it's something that has to work for both sides, and I think it would be in the city's best interest to have the town as an active participant in the wastewater program that they have. The reason I say that is longer term, I think the city has a lot of exposure with that plant. You're going to require a lot of upgrades, a lot of maintenance, and so on. And the more folks they can get involved and help pay for this thing, the better off it's going to be. But that's an economic issue that those folks are going to have to decide on.
Speaking of upgrades, we're talking, what, a $19 million upgrade of the wastewater plant ongoing as we speak?
Yeah, I went down 2 weeks ago, got a tour of it. Jason Booth showed me around, showed what the improvements were. Hope to have it online, up and running. I think he said by May or June of this year, if I'm not mistaken.
So that work's been going?
Been going on throughout the winter. They chose to continue. That was a discussion whether or not to continue the construction during winter and pay for some extra cost. And the city chose to do that, to keep it moving forward. So the hope is it'll be online. I think June is the date I had heard. I may be wrong, but.
Bill, back to the town situation. The town has looked at possibly doing its own thing with sewage, wastewater. That's still, sure sounded like the price tag sounded pretty scary, but is that that's still out there?
Conceptually, it's always out there. But I'd have to say, I think we have a couple of things on our plate now. To get the garage out of the way,
the town hall
out of the way, and maybe a couple of other big infrastructure projects we're going to look at. So why start into that at this stage? Although some people may want to dust it off and take another hard look at it. But it could be pricey, depending on which option you select. So,
can we just? Well, I don't want to stop. Go ahead.
I was going to say we still have the Route 7 North sewer system, sewer and water. So we're pretty good as far as that part of town is concerned. The only other question would be the south part of town.
Right. Yeah, Mr. Mayor?
Well, I was just going to jump in. We had mentioned Judge Rainville. And I don't know if we're off the water and sewer discussion, but I would, recently over the last 6 weeks or so, I think Judge Rainville, and this goes to community and policing, I think, community policing and that discussion. But I'd like to commend Judge Rainville for his, he put a kibosh to a couple arrangements for criminal cases where there was an agreement and he didn't think it was significant enough due to the fact of what the crime was.
So plea agreement.
A plea agreement was that
too
he went,
soft, for lack of a better word,
and he told them rejected them and told them to come back. I don't know if you saw them, but there was 2 within the paper, and I don't think.
Sounds a little familiar to a hugely publicized federal case in the Trump administration. One of those folks, Mr. Manafort, I believe, had the plea agreement. The judge seemed extremely unimpressed with said plea agreement.
And Judge Rainville had the same situation here, and I commend him for doing that. And Bill is well aware of this. The city police has arrested a number of individuals on drug-related incidents, and they're back on the street fairly soon. There was just one in the paper today where an individual was stalking his girlfriend, and they arrested him and put him in, and he was back out. And they arrested him again the same day or within 12 hours. And finally, they put a $10,000 bail on him, which has held him in the. But
really frustrating.
It's frustrating. I know it's frustrating for the police department.
Must be hugely frustrating for those guys.
And I commend the judge for being aware of that and taking the initiative to eliminate those specific plea agreements and being a little harder on the individuals. So it was, I don't know if that we want to lead into the police discussion on that, but I think it was good to see that.
Speaking of police staffing, is City PD down a bit here? Of course, Roger Langevin, soon to be within a month, the new county sheriff,
February
of course,
1,
losing Roger.
Last I knew, we were down 1. Roger would probably make 2, but I don't know if Gary has filled that 1 spot. Bill may know better, but
No, we we haven't been keeping our pulse on the staffing of the police
So
department.
PD sounds like in pretty good shape,
Yeah.
staffing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know some of the deputies and the sheriffs have chosen to leave.
Yeah, sounds like
I think-
definitely some changes.
I think a couple are going to Chittenden County Sheriff's Department, but there may be others that may be open to working for city police. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, it sounds like not the smoothest. I would have liked to have seen a smoother transition. Sounds like it hasn't been the easiest, but hopefully the new sheriff will get in there and things won't take too long to get in pretty good shape.
and just from a from the street crimes perspective,
Yeah.
I think it's been great for me as mayor to see what following it's picked up. There was an article recently from Tim Bombardier from Barrie,
Yeah,
who's looking at doing the same type of project
Oh, really?
and initiating a street crimes unit in Barrie.
Huh.
I was at an event at my wife's family, and former chief from Essex was there, and Gary worked underneath him, and he was very complimentary of the street crimes as well, and the impact that can have. So it's from a administrative perspective in the city, I think it's been a good move. It's been about a year now. I think it's paid dividends for the amount of money that was spent on it.
of course, both city and town came up with some bucks for
the
that.
collaboration
Yeah.
to do that, and I think it's been a great program, and hopefully it will continue.
Bill, you feel the town select board getting the information you want? Are you still pretty comfortable with city police coverage in the town?
Well, yeah, I haven't heard any complaints, so
Yeah.
no complaints is good news.
Yeah.
Unless it's too many tickets,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, right. They've even stopped complaining about giving out too many speeding tickets, but no, that's fine.
Yeah.
If it slows you down, keep complaining, just slow down.
Yeah, speeding. I mean, I know it's been a big issue in Swanton, and it sounds like that's always an issue, huh?
So in the city as well. I mean, it's
City as well.
not just the rural roads. It's
Yeah.
it's in city streets. We see it all the time.
Yeah. Anyway, so staffing's in pretty good shape on
Yeah.
that front. Fire department, city and town fire departments. Again, I usually bring it up. I don't hear anybody else bring it up. Merger.
We disappoint you every time
Business
because
as usual, sorry. Business
I
as
asked the
usual.
Swanton, the good folks in Swanton, the village and town people, anybody talking merger, yeah, just you, Richard. Nobody else asked us about that. So again, that subject's not, it just doesn't come up. City and town fire department sounds like they work well together.
work well together and continue to work.
If it
well
ain't
together.
broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
I was surprised in Swanton the amount of money they have invested or will be investing in new.
This had what, a
ladder-
couple new trucks.
ladder truck and a tanker for $1.4 million.
Yeah, that's a lot of bucks.
That's quite the impact.
Yeah, but certainly in the town, it sounds like the town's done very well keeping up equipment-wise.
Yep,
Bill.
yep. Bob Cross, they do very well keeping the equipment
Yeah.
up. And in terms of replacing, so we're probably going to be trying to replace the Quint ladder this year. Ladder
yeah.
truck. Yeah, that's not at the end of its life, but approaching. So if we're going to get a good resale on that, now's the time to look at it and use those funds. They'll pay for a new one.
Yeah. What about city equipment-wise from the city fire department, Tim? Any big needs there? You're in pretty
I
good
don't
shape?
know, Richard. We're going to find out Monday night,
Okay.
so we'll have that discussion on
Okay,
Monday.
you got a lot of info on a lot of stuff Monday night.
Right. Yep. Bill and I met ahead of time to have some discussions about allocations to nonprofits and what those might look like moving forward. So that I know the city had cut back on that a number of years ago, unless it had a direct impact on the community or the residents of the community. So I'm curious to see what those allocations will be moving forward as well.
I'm sure you got some feedback on that.
Yeah, we always
Especially
do.
For folks,
Yeah,
obviously, for folks who don't get funding anymore.
and you get, we were talking about the letters that we get requesting funding.
Yeah.
Some organizations not even located in the
Really?
city, town, or county for that matter.
Yeah.
So there's a number that I have seen come across my desk. I know it's only the beginning of them, but
Yeah.
so we'll evaluate those as well.
Yeah. And Bill, you've got a couple of weeks on the budget. You've got some, obviously, budget work to nail down too.
It'll be within the next 2 weeks, we'll have
Next
it
2
nailed down.
weeks.
We'll have to have it, I say January 21st is the
Gotcha.
magic date.
Yeah,
So we have to have it all sorted out well before then.
yeah. And again, hoping for little or no budget increase at
Well,
this
I
point.
mean, we'd like to zero, just have zero increase.
Yeah,
Start off with that as a philosophical target.
yeah,
And see what can give, what can't give, and if we have any excess funds from prior budgets, what we can claw back.
yeah. Mayor, what about in the city? What have you got a feel for at this point? How
Yeah.
much of a budget increase there will be?
I don't yet, Richard. Like I said, Monday night's going to be the key to
Okay.
that.
Okay.
I think we have Monday, the next 3 Mondays, we'll be meeting on it to discuss it.
Yeah,
I think last year the increase was 2%, and I heard some complaints on that.
Yeah.
It's I'm sort of back when Bill Chaffee was city manager. I was well aware that he would always love to come in that 1% range.
yeah.
I'm not saying that's the case this year. We'll see where we stand, but there's been some increase in development that can potentially help on the income side. So
Yeah.
it will allow us some flexibility moving forward. So.
Any last year, this big sidewalk bond was on the ballot almost a year ago. I believe,
We've got another year left of I think it was a 3-year bond, if I'm not mistaken. We still have a number of sidewalks that need to be done. We snuck in Upper Weldon at the end of the year, but that was only for sidewalks because the condition of Upper Weldon was so bad. We have to go back and do curbs on Upper Weldon.
Well, it's such a narrow street, too.
Yeah,
It's a tough street.
And we still have the tractor trailers going down through there.
Is that right? Why would you ever want to drive a tractor trailer on a
Yeah,
street?
I think the GPS is sending them that way.
Yeah.
Is that right?
We just had
Really?
friends of ours come up for the fireworks from
Jeez.
South Burlington,
Yeah.
and they put in their GPS and it sent them down Upper Weldon Street.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
you wonder why GPSs mean just nothing to me, but I'm of course a dinosaur.
yeah, no,
It's amazing.
yeah. So that's we're trying to address that as well by
Yeah.
contacting the companies that have
Really?
the programming and see if they can correct it. But so curbs will be done in the spring, and then there's a few other streets that will be getting their sidewalk upgrade, and it'll be interesting. I mean, because we went so late, we'll have the site work that needs to be done, the planting of the grass, and and just cleaning up after the late fall.
One other city had CSO, combined sewer overflow issue, and I guess that was right before Christmas. Just a rainstorm, ironically, on the first day of winter, Friday, December 21, I guess into the next day. And I guess Saint Albans and some other municipalities had the same issue.
Between the rainfall and the snow melt.
And snow melt, of course, there was good point. A lot of snow on the ground at that point too. Are there any fines that come in with that? Is that just kind of one of those things that happens once in a while?
Yeah, I would say it happens more than once in a while, but
Yeah.
I think Burlington has definitely had their share.
Rutland certainly had some big issues with that, I think, too.
We hadn't had one in a while. I
Yeah.
think we were pretty fortunate. We didn't get the rain up in this corner of the state this summer as other parts of the state, but it's an unfortunate situation. The improvement in the wastewater does not address that as much as
So what's going on now doesn't really deal with that
it deals
issue.
more with the phosphorus
Right.
levels and reducing
Yeah.
the phosphorus levels moving forward.
Huh.
So that would be the next thing we'd definitely want to tackle for sure.
Boy, I check my lake. I do a daily weather log. Check my lake, Champlain lake log. The lake's really come up. It was
Come
kind
up a
of
lot.
funny. We heard about the D word, drought conditions in parts of Vermont, other parts of New England, but it's funny. Burlington ended up the year a couple of days ago with about a little over 2 inches above its average.
Oh, is that right?
A little over 39 inches of precipitation. Of course, that's combination rain and melted snow. Its average is just about 37 inches. Of course, nothing like the Mid-Atlantic states, but still, it's funny, for what seemed like a pretty dry summer, and the lake level is about, I checked my data today, lake level's over 97 feet now. It's about
97,
three feet
wow.
higher than a year ago, and it's at least 2 feet higher than any time in the last 5 years. I just went back 5
Really?
years. But boy, maybe
was-
of a concern to spring, although as I think about it, Kilcare, it's out there yesterday, the day before, still open water at the end of Kilcare. As I saw skaters on the interbay. It looks like some good skating maybe. But maybe a lack of ice. Maybe that's not as bad as it seems, because ordinarily I'd be expecting a lot of ice out there, and it's still open water, but the lake level's a lot higher than it has been for a while.
Yeah, I was
We'll
down
see
on,
what happens over the winter.
I was down on McQuam yesterday, I think
Yeah.
it was, and surprised at how high the water had come up.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it'll be,
it's kind of a funny precipitation year.
you know, we've lost all our snowpack
Yeah.
from November, so
Yeah.
you know, maybe the spring will be more of a gradual, depending what we get from here on
Yeah.
out. But
So who knows?
the 10-day
maybe
forecast
even out a
doesn't look
little
like
bit.
we're getting anything significant either.
No, it doesn't sound like maybe wake up to a dusting or something, but anyway, I mean, I guess that's good news on some of your budgets, plowing budgets, but just kind of strange to see bare
and salt,
ground
right.
in early January. I guess there's some good
A
news.
hit in November for sure.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, what about the big downtown, the project, the new buildings, Main and Congress Street, relocation of police? How's that moving?
Moving forward for sure. There was a couple hurdles with the Maiden Lane apartments.
Yeah. And again, part of that plan is those would be gone. Those would be
Yeah, those will
taken
be torn
with
down.
new apartments.
And there's currently, I believe, 25 in the existing building, and there'd be 50 when it's all said and done.
Wow. And
to
some of that affordable housing.
affordable housing.
A term that drives me crazy, but it's still the. Anyway, we will come back to that. Let's grab another phone call. Go ahead, caller. Thanks for calling St. Albans today for the record. Fire away.
Well, I figured I had to call in the second time because you guys hadn't got any phone calls, so I figured I'd call in the second time.
Fire away, David.
Tim, what are they going to do? Start tearing down the buildings across from City Hall? And when are they going to tear down the buildings where Maiden Lane is? Because don't they have, from the time they move them, the residents out of there, they got like 3 years to put them back, or they end up paying for something?
Yeah, we were just getting into that.
So the current plan right now is spring demolition. The front, the Main Street side being the priority. And you are right, David. You do have a limited amount of time. I thought it was 1 year between relocation. So if you displace the individuals in those apartments, you have 1 year to put them back into a permanent location. So that would be the Maiden Lane. Could happen at the same time, but I think the preference is to get the Main Street done, followed by Maiden Lane after the fact. So you should see some activity in that area come April.
So again, the people in the Maiden Lane apartments who, if you do indeed demolish that building, I mean, they basically are guaranteed of another.
Part of the process is you have to find them a relocation site, and then you construct the building, and you have to get them back into a comparable apartment.
Interesting.
So go
Do
ahead.
you have to find temporary housing for them?
Yeah, temporary, I guess. We're working closely with Lake Champlain Housing to find those locations.
Okay.
So it'd be a year of.
And
of
you're
that.
saying 25 folks
Well,
up there now or so?
there is some attrition going on now. So as an apartment, someone chooses to move on.
So they're obviously well aware of what's
Yeah,
coming down the
yeah,
pike, presumably.
They understand that currently the city is their landlord. They've maintained contact with them and educated them as to what the
Oh, is that right?
process
So
is.
the city's the landlord at this
City's
point?
landlord, we own the property.
Oh, okay.
So some people, I think we're down out of 25, I think it's down to 21 or 20.
Yeah.
So there is some attrition there, and we're not
Not looking for
We're
new
not
tenants to move in.
right. We're not looking for new tenants to move in, and we're not responsible for those 4 or 5 that have moved out on their own
Okay.
free will.
So hopefully from a city point of view, you'll get more of that, I guess. Huh?
Right.
So when are they going to start tearing up Kingman Street?
Kingman's still up in the air, David.
That's not a done deal at this point
No.
for a streetscape on Kingman, a possibility.
That one, I think we're still waiting to hear on some grants to do that, but it's not. I'll confirm, but that hasn't been a priority for construction for the summer.
I see they made AAA magazine, St. Albans downtown. They
Yeah,
got a
thanks.
picture in there.
Thanks, David, for that.
Is that right? I probably just got that and hadn't even noticed.
Yeah, it's a very it's a brief, but we the writer was from Long Island, came up on Amtrak with her daughter this summer, August. The chamber, in conjunction with the city, town, we all met to showcase the area. They ended up going to the town, the Bay Park, Kilcare, and then we took the ferry over to Burton's Island. That was part of her visit. We also took her to Enosburg. She did a number of activities in St. Albans City, eating at the different restaurants. She ate at Bayside, and very impressed with the area, loved it. But we knew going in it was a very concise story that was going to be in the AAA magazine, and I did see a copy of it. I just skimmed over it briefly, but stuff like that is you can't. That's
Of course, the last
marketing.
copy of Vermont Life, you came up real
Yeah,
big,
yeah.
and literally the last print copy of Vermont Life.
Yeah. So AAA, I mean, you can't. That didn't cost us anything other than some time to showcase the area and take the writer out to eat. So it worked out well. The other thing you'll be hearing is I reached out to Dan Bocan at what used to be the Paquin car dealership.
Yeah, Ford dealership.
And just asked, I hear his commercials all the time, and I suggested that maybe if he saw the opportunity where he could slide something in about coming to St. Albans, best kept secret, and he just sent me proof on their next ad, so you'll be hearing some, and that gets pretty good coverage, so you'll be hearing, and it's not specific to city or town, it's St. Albans, and so that will, once again, that's free publicity, that's not costing us anything, so we're excited about that. So David, to write the article is, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I'm a AAA member. That's when I opened it up, and it was really impressive.
Nothing wrong with that exposure for sure. We've talked about it here before that I think tourism in the area is way up. People using the state parks, the Bay Park, downtown. I think the trail network between the Siskiyou Valley Rail Trail, the town forest, Hardack. So I think we're really benefiting from all the good stuff that's going on.
Hey, Tim, and in your other capacity, is there any other business coming into the town industrial park?
We are working on plans for one lot now that probably would not go to construction till later, probably midsummer. We're pretty close to finalizing those details. So that would be one. And then we're headed to Montreal to have a discussion on another one next week.
Well, thank you very much. I'll get off the phone, so if
Thank you,
somebody
David.
else wants to call, I don't want to hog the show.
Thanks for calling. Again, our number. Thanks, David. 528-5315. Still about 11 minutes left in the show. I guess we covered that. So, and again, obviously the police department moved to CCV headquarters, hooked into the new building at Congress in Maine. So,
Yeah.
We're in the start of 2019. Obviously, will we see some? I mean, the hope is we'll see some progress on this. We'll see some movement on this for sure.
Yeah.
Coming up. So it looks like it's moving.
I'm not saying it's cast in stone. There's still
Yeah.
a couple moving parts, but it's the headway that's been made on it has been significant over the over the fall and winter so far, late summer and fall. So we're making headway, and there's still loose ends to be tied up, but.
You expect this to happen? I mean, you're pretty confident this should
in
go.
conversations with the city manager, that these are the other details do not appear to be major hurdles by any means, and that we'll continue to move forward.
Bill, skating rink, the town took a shot at it last winter. The Mother Nature wasn't very good. You're going to take another shot at a
I
skating
think
rink at
we'll
the
try it
Saint
again. We'll
Albans
see
Bay
what
Park?
happens. See what happens.
Actually, there's folks in Swanton. I don't know if you've been
They-
by the Swanton Green. They've got a nice little
Really
skating
nice
rink
one
in the
there,
middle
yeah,
of the
yeah.
Swanton Green. Haven't been up there one of these days. Hopefully, I'll check it out.
I just heard from Elizabeth Nance, who's
Yeah.
Swanton's economic person.
Yeah.
She just sent me an email today that said the usage is way up on that when the conditions are appropriate.
Yeah,
So they're very pleased with the amount of use that rink is getting.
yeah, great.
I did not do my own personal rink,
Oh yeah.
and it's I don't know if I am going to. It's just the fluctuations are such that you get
Just
it to a
up and
point.
down.
Yeah, you get to
Yeah,
a point
so-
where you want to. It's good to go, and then the next day you're 50 degrees or rain, and
Yeah, no,
it's a tough business to be
tough.
in.
Really, I guess the folks who did the NHL game, good game, Boston and the
Yeah,
Blackhawks
yeah.
yesterday. They didn't have, of course, the teams were going to practice the day before when it was raining, so they couldn't get a practice in. But it looked like the conditions for the game.
They
I
were-
guess it looked like the ice. I didn't hear anybody complaining about the ice. So it's kind of fun to see those games.
I was led to believe they led you to believe on TV that they
Yeah.
had ideal conditions yesterday. The two main points that drive them crazy are the sun and the rain, and they didn't have
the
either.
sun- Yeah, no, it
And
looked like.
the temperature, I think, was 30 degrees, right?
I think 30, 35 or so.
So they were. I
At
think they were.
78,000 fans, but it's kind of fun to see that game.
Yeah, I think they were very happy with the outcome.
So the Bay Park, Alan Mesher may take another shot at it, or
Maybe we'll give it a shot. We'll see what
give
happens.
it a shot. But no, the weather's been
The weather,
tough.
I
Just
mean,
the up and down weather.
You
is
get the
tough.
ice and it's gone. It's-
Although, like I said, on the bay itself, I saw some skaters the other day. So I
Yeah.
should have thrown mine. It looked like some very nice conditions the other day, anyway, on the inner part of the bay.
Yes.
Like I said, still open water out at the Kilcare end.
You have plenty of ice fishermen down near the town park.
Yeah, yeah, interesting.
And the open ice doesn't seem to affect the
No.
ice fishermen.
It doesn't matter. The thinner the better, right?
Bill, town impact fees, is that getting another look or a new look?
Oh
or
no,
what's-
it's coming.
Coming?
We finished the study,
Yeah,
and the first impact fee ordinance, there was some little issues that had to be resolved, but we should have the final draft impact fee ordinance momentarily.
yeah,
In fact, that's on my desk at home, so to follow up on.
yeah.
Was the original one 30 years ago or 20 years ago?
The first one's probably
It's been a long
been
time.
a long time. I'd say 20 years anyway.
yeah.
So this
Anyway.
is just something that obviously needed some upgrading or updating?
We had to reanalyze it top to bottom
Yeah.
to justify the fees. That's the main thing.
Yeah,
And the story is the study was very thorough. And there will certainly be some increases,
yeah.
and I forget what they are, but it's not significant.
Were there some decreases too for?
Some, up and down,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Public Works is probably the major one because we have more and more roads, and that's the bigger impact. And the one that will not be included in our study, based on the suggestion of the person who did the analysis, was to not include a school impact fee. And that was a significant amount of money. So we will not the town will not enforce a school impact fee. If the school wishes to have one, we will certainly help them. They can do the study to justify it. The justification is the key issue, and then we just add it on with our own ordinance. But they would have to come up with the analysis and the rationale for it.
Any indication whether they will do that, or?
Don't know.
Don't know.
Don't know. I guess because the way the state funds things now is all different.
Yeah.
So everything comes from the education tax and so on. So I don't know.
I know certainly enrollment at PFA, is way down from what it was years ago. The town school and city school, are they kind of relatively stable? I can't answer.
One of the reasons that we eliminated it is because the population is declining.
Yeah,
So to look at a big enough increase in the population to have an impact
yeah,
is hard to see right now. We couldn't justify that based on the forecast we're seeing.
yeah.
Yeah,
And it's important to justify. And the study is out there. Anybody can come and look at it and see exactly why we're doing it.
Yeah,
And it's not just Pie in
did
the
the
Sky
study,
stuff.
Bill?
I forget the name of the company. It's a specialist. I didn't anticipate that question tonight, but anyway, we'll be happy to send you one if
No,
you like.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Impact fees in the city, Mr. Mayor, any? Yeah,
No, there's not enough development to speak of.
is that right?
for-
Just not,
that was going to be a question for Bill. Are you seeing many new housing units?
Well, we're seeing, based on the forecasts, we anticipate continued population growth over the years. Have you seen? And it's mainly, and this will result in more and more housing, and it's the impact this will have on the services in the community.
You
So-
talk about numbers, Richard.
Yeah.
So my kids are now 2nd, 4th, and 6th grade at city
Yeah.
school.
yeah,
And for the most part, when they entered at the kindergarten level, they were all on that 90,
yeah.
92, 94 level for each kindergarten class.
And staying about,
And they seem to be,
About the same.
they seem to, from each child, they all seem to be
Yeah.
right around that,
Yeah.
within 3 or 4.
yeah,
But going to back to BFA, I think their graduating class this year was 199,
really.
which I think that was unheard of for 40,
As in-
50. I talked to, I asked people just out of curiosity,
Yeah.
what was your graduating class? And mine was 265.
They're really too.
And we were, my brother was 3 years older. I think they were pushing 300. They were at
Really?
295 or so.
Interesting. So BFA is significantly down.
Yeah, and I think
I guess part of that is I can only assume the sending towns or
and in Georgia,
not getting that many.
Yeah, I think we received a lot more from Georgia than we do now.
Yeah,
Georgia kids many of them are going to South Burlington or
yeah. Essex maybe.
Essex or Rice, and
yeah.
so I think that we're losing a number there.
Interesting.
And I just think numbers. And the thing that really not surprised me, but really hits home is over the last 30 years, our school age numbers went from 120,000 and we're down to 89,000
Wow.
now. So when
So
you look
down
at it
about
that way,
down about a quarter, if my math is right. Huh?
about a quarter or 1,000 a year is what
Wow.
they say across
Yeah.
the state. which
Governor
is,
certainly will throw out those figures
Yeah.
pretty often.
Yeah, 1,000 per year is what we're declining, and
Wow.
that's 30,000 is significant.
I did see
obviously.
census figures the other day. I guess Vermont's, I guess in the census year from, I guess maybe July 1, 2016 to July 1, or maybe July 1, 2017 to July 1, 2018, Vermont's population just slightly, a 1 or 2 tenths of a percentage point increase, just hundreds, but just pretty much a flat population in Vermont. Of course, the governor, the 10,000 offer for out-of-staters with whatever the conditions are, that keeps getting some national media attention.
Yeah, we were a bit surprised at the forecast of population growth for Franklin County and the Saint Albans area,
Yeah,
which of course fed right into our impact fee study.
yeah. I mean, Franklin County is still going, we got to be
Franklin,
very
yeah.
close to 50,000. Are we 40
yeah,
49?
yeah, I bet you we're
Maybe,
pushing it
might
pretty
have
good.
been, I
Yeah.
think we're real close.
Yeah, Franklin, Moyle, and Chittenden are the only 3 counties that
Right.
showed growth.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 11 others are going the
Yeah,
other
the
way.
state as a whole still holding at about 625, give or take 1,000 or 2.
Although I did see, I didn't get a chance to read the article, and I don't know if it was in the Free Press or Messenger, but Vermont is one of the leading move-to states.
Really?
And it was in today's paper, and I didn't
Oh,
get a
is that
chance to
right?
read it.
No, I didn't see that.
And I don't know
That's
what the
interesting.
demographics are of those.
Depends on how much the state is offering them to come. Right.
But I don't know if that's a senior
Yeah,
of course.
in-migration or
Well, it's certainly aging.
Yeah.
yeah. I think seems like I read that we're the second oldest state, and hey, thanks to folks like myself,
Right.
second oldest state just next to Maine, but
Right.
demographically older population. The governor would kill for, a few more 10,000 people to show up. But anyway, well, on that note, we're just about out of time. Bill, any quick last
No,
word from you?
no.
You good, Mr. Mayor?
No, just commend the committee for pulling off last night.
Yeah, nice
and,
event.
I tell people quickly, in the month of December, we had Festival of Trees, Running of the Bells, Tractor Parade, and last night. Great for the community.
Yeah, a lot of good
Yes,
stuff.
good for
Thanks
you.
very much to St. Albans Mayor Tim Smith, St. Albans Town Select Board Chairman Bill Nihan. Thanks to my man Zach for doing all the hard work out there. Thanks for watching us here on Northwest Access TV. We appreciate it. I appreciate it. Hey, just flip one channel and watch a live sports show in a half hour if you feel so desired. Thanks for watching us. See ya.